the need to regulate and control society. If you read this health care bill, and I've read all 1,017 pages and analyzed various sections of it in detail, it is designed to eliminate the unwanted people. And it conforms exactly to this Rockefeller idea that certain people are not fit to live in society and they have no right to be here, and that governments should decide who has the right to live in the United States and who doesn't. I wrote a paper recently called Social Utility. Who should we let mom, grandmother, and grandpa live? Well, that I go through.
Well, that's the thing. I want you to comment on that, but Daschle wrote a book saying if you're 60, you don't get eye surgery, you don't get brain surgery.
And that's what they do in the socialized healthcare system.
But that's the thing, is they write it, Emanuel's brother says it, the bill says we're going to do what this board recommends, and then you read what the board recommends, and it's what you just said, and then they lie and say we're not doing this, just like they have bills introduced for compulsory service, and Obama wants it, and he's going to have the kids form up in front of him next week, literally with telescreens like 1984, sure. and now he's saying, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, sure. Dr. Blaylock, do you ever pinch yourself, even though you study this and expose it, that it's really happening, that these people really are in control?
Well, it's happening so rapidly. You know, as I tell people, if you go back 40 years, you had a hard time getting a politician to admit he was a liberal. Well, now they proudly not only say they're liberals, but that they're far left. Most of the time on TV, they say from the left. Well, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you would never hear a politician say he was from the left, because that's admitting I'm a socialist or a communist, that I'm a collectivist. But they're proud of it now, and what happened when we got the Obama administration is they felt, well, the people want collectivism, and therefore we can move ahead full steam.
Well, look at Van Jones saying, hey, the green jobs is to take the economy over for total redistribution of wealth. I mean, these people mean business.
That's collectivism. And it's the idea that there's a group of wise people who tell the rest of society what their duty is. And this health corps, this core of young people being drafted is exactly that. You have a duty to do what your government tells you to do and help it. Recruit other people into the
Amazing. Amazing. Dr. Blaylock, stay there. When we come back, I want to get it more into the eugenics master plan and then take phone calls at 1-800-259-9231.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Your call's coming up. We start the next hour in a few minutes at 1-800-259-9231, specifically on vaccines, excitotoxins, eugenics. That's a big area, but specifically for Dr. Russell Blaylock. Doctor, you said you just did a 2-hour rundown program on the healthcare bill. You read the whole thing. I've scanned through it. We have your report, Social Utility, how much are grandpa and grandma worth? And we've got that linked up on Infowars.com. It's also at BlaylockReport.com. Run through what's really in the bill. As a medical doctor, as a brain surgeon, as a neurologist, what this really does.
If you look through the bill, one of the first things they assure everybody, you'll be able to keep your insurance if you like it. That is an absolute lie. What you're going to be faced with, and your employer is going to be faced with, is that if you keep your private insurance, there are penalties you're going to have to pay. And, of course, for the people covering your insurance, it's going to behoove them in terms of finances to move you forcibly into the public option. So you will lose the high-quality coverage that you have at your business. Now, for individually insured people, they tack on so many requirements, mandates, audits, financial things that have to be met by the insurance company and the insured person that you'll no longer be able to pay your premiums. They would just be
so this is a whole new bureaucracy where they fine you if you don't have insurance, and then like a new agency like the IRS come in and manage your life.
Well, not only you pay a 2.5% excise tax for not having insurance, and on top of that, if you have higher income, say you make $250,000, because you didn't take the public option, or you just choose to get a health savings account. You're going to be punished severely for that. So you will be forcibly moved into the public option unless you're just enormously rich and resist them. The really scary thing of this bill is that you read through it, almost everywhere it says things are left up to the discretion of the Secretary of HHS, Health and Human Services. So as you're reading the bill, you find that it's not actually spelled out. It says this will be determined 18 months later, or this will be determined a year later by the Secretary of HHS. Coding, criteria, who will be included, all this will be determined later. So you're signing a bill in which there's very few specifics added in many of these sections.
Well, that's what's happening with the cybersecurity, where they admit it so they can take the web over. That's what the gun bills do. They have a bill that says the Attorney General can ban any and all guns whenever he feels like it. They're openly setting up a dictatorship.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as you read through this bill, you become more and more frightened. Because, for instance, it says all physicians are in the public option, whether they want to be or not, that they have to specifically apply to remove themselves from the public option, that is, being a federal doctor, and that the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary will decide the mechanism by which you're allowed to leave, which he could make it so difficult and so financially punishing. Most doctors won't leave because they're going to need doctors, and they're not going to want them to live. It says that she has control over all payments to physicians, hospitals, nursing homes. Is at her discretion as to what they will be paid.
And the incredible thing is, most scary, is I've read these sections you're talking about. When you bring them up, they just say, you're a liar. It doesn't exist. Final hour, 70 seconds away. Stay with us.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hello, this is Alex Jones with some important questions. If you're going into a battle and they give you a rifle and a sidearm, how much ammunition do you want? My answer would be all I can get. In the battle for freedom and the lives of your loved ones, food is your only ammunition. How much do you want? When do you want it? Now or after the battle starts? When will you need it? Can you buy it without proper identification? Will there be any food? Will it make your children sick? If there's a quarantine and you can't feed yourself, will you go to the gathering center and be immunized? You wipe out all these problems if you have a good food supply. Food is your ammunition to fight for your freedom and your life. How much will you need? We don't know. How much do you want? All you can get. I'm Alex Jones. I want all of you good guys to live to fight another day. Call 1-800-409-5633 or check it out on the web at efoodsdirect.com. Again, that number, 1-800-409-5633.
Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Dr. Russell Blaylock is our guest for another 40 minutes. I'm going to get into Obama's big push to have the youth line up and become his friend and help him. You got Al Gore telling school kids all over the country on tape, don't do what your parents say, global warming's real, work with the government. Van Jones saying, we are going to overthrow America. And they try to hook him up with 9/11 truth. We'll break that down coming up. Dr. Russell Blaylock's our guest. Okay, next segment, I'm going to start going to your phone calls. Dr. Blaylock was just running through some of the total dictatorial blank check takeover. And that's everything Obama's doing is just at our discretion, And go ahead.
It's interesting. The other day I was watching TV, and they had one of the leftist politicians saying, oh, there's absolutely no rationing in this bill. Virtually every page is rationing. And the penalties on physicians for just minor misinterpretation of rules or regulations, there's enormous civil penalties. And what we know in national health systems is with time they get further and further in debt. And in order to make up that that loss, they start increasing the number of penalties and cutting physician pay. Well, after a while, a physician's pay is going to be so low that he's no longer going to be able to maintain his office, which means they're going to have to sell it to the federal government. And the federal government will take over all physicians' offices. Well, this happened where I used to practice in North Carolina, just under the Medicare, Medicaid, and managed care system. I warned the physicians it was coming. They chose not to listen. I left and moved to Mississippi